Have you ever considered being a coach in the real estate industry? I mean, you have years of experience and a lot of it could be good put to good use being a mentor or a coach. And today I'm speaking with Danielle Wilkie. She is the co-founder along with Heather Frick of the Helm. It's a modern coaching platform for women who are interested in getting into coaching. Her past experience at Compass and other tech startups and real estate companies offers some really interesting insight into some of the trends in the industry, and she shares them with us today. So enjoy the podcast. Danielle, thank you so much for joining the RealTrending podcast.
Hi, Tracey. It's so great to be here with you.
Yeah, so why don't you start out by telling our audience a little bit about yourself and the Helm? And I know you've got some extensive real estate experience and are kind of launching a new coaching company as well. So let's talk about it.
All right. Well, I always think it's good to start with numbers, which I'm sure you would appreciate. So let's start with some numbers. As you know, and most people know, women make up over 2/3 of real estate agents in the country. And the challenge is what we found is that less than a third actually make up nationally recognized coaches. And when we saw that gap, we thought we got to do something about it. And so that's how we launched the Helm. But before starting this business, I was an executive officer at Compass. And I was part of several aspects of that business, including launching their Coaching at Compass initiative, where we were focused on figuring out how to bring more coaching and support to their agents. And it was actually through that work, Tracey, that I discovered this gap. And I was pretty shocked, really. I mean, if you just go search yourself Inman's top 25 coaches for 2024, it's visually right there for you to see. And so, I remember before we launched all of this, I went to Robert Refkin, our CEO at the time, and I said, we need to do this. We need to go after it. He said, yeah, let's go do it. And then I said, hey, just heads up, we're going to launch here. And we don't have a lot of women. In fact, maybe zero. And it's not going to go well. I just want you to know this. And sure enough, next day, all the phone calls come in. He sends them over to me. I start talking to all these women and they'd say, Danielle, where are they? Where are the women? And I'd say, tell me, like you share. And then it was silence. And so, the truth is, Tracey, that there's a lot of women in this coaching space, but many of them have been localized or working for brokerages or frankly, working for men. And so I think that at a time with like so much change in this industry where professionalism is the new mandate, having more diverse voices recognized at the national level from a coaching perspective is just good for everybody.
That's great. Congratulations on starting the firm. So let's start out with just a couple icebreakers. I want to know, what is one thing that people would be surprised to know about you?
I was the captain of my rugby team in college.
Really?
This one blows people's minds. I actually started college playing tennis, and then I spent a year abroad, and I realized all the fun people abroad, where I was in the UK, were playing rugby. And I was like, well, I want to get in on that. And I turned out I loved it. And when I came back to the US, I continued doing that. And I think what I love, Tracey, actually tells you a little bit about me, is that you just go so physically hard competitively, which I love. I love that competitive spirit. Yeah. But then afterwards, we all hang out together. You hang out with the other team. And so there's something about that, I think, that probably tells you a lot about who I am.
Very different from tennis.
That's what my parents said. Are you sure?
Oh, but so fun. And what, you've been in the industry for a while. What has been kind of your biggest, maybe it's personal, maybe it's professional, but your biggest aha moment?
I mean, you get to this point in your career, you realize you have more than one aha moment if you're lucky.
Absolutely.
And I'd say my most recent aha moment was twofold. I had been part of the team to help bring Compass to market publicly. We had great success, and we were doing amazing things. And what I realized was it wasn't what I thought it should be. I'd reached these high levels at all these different businesses I've been a part of, the titles, the money, the opportunity. And I got there and I was like, this is it? Really? and realized that actually this next phase of my life needs to be about something that I really care about and I'm really passionate about. And it is actually more important than all those things. And I think in doing that, that's how I find that piece that I was looking for that wasn't happening in those other ways. And what's really cool about it, Tracey, is that aha happened right at the same time I was having that aha around what was going on with women in the industry from a coaching perspective. And so that serendipitous intersection really, delivered where I'm at now.
Great. And my last one is just favorite books or podcasts. Anything you're listening to or reading right now that our audience would be interested in knowing about.
We don't know each other well, but I bet you're into learning and growing and ideas too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be running a podcast like this. So we don't have enough time to go through all of the things that I am doing. But I will tell you that my favorite podcast right now is Psychologists Off the Clock, 10% Happier with Dan Harris, a smaller but really cool one that I love called Sustainable Ambition, which I really love. The Knowledge Project with Shane Parrish, and The Conscious Entrepreneur. Those are my favorite podcasts. Books, if you want to know about books, favorite fiction recently was Trust, Remarkably Bright Creatures, and Lessons in Chemistry. And nonfiction, which I'm totally obsessed with too. Interestingly enough, I am really into Ina Garten's new memoir, Be Ready When the Luck Happens. And if you like audiobooks, she reads it herself. And so it's like walking with Ina every day, which I'm really into. And she's just a very powerful, smart, capable woman that it's been great hearing her story.
Well, good. Now I have some podcasts I have to check out. So thank you.
Yes.
So I know that people would be interesting to know, like, what exactly can a female coach offer to women that you feel like a male coach can't? What is that kind of value add that you're offering to the people that you're coaching?
Well, first of all, I'd say that there are plenty of guys who have plenty to offer women. So I just want to make that absolutely clear. There are some incredible men who are coaching in this space, and they deserve all the credit in the world. I think what we're trying to accomplish is not to replace, but to just amend, to create more space for more ways of doing this. So, something that was in the Wall Street Journal about a year ago, there was this great article about the power of when women come together. There is a truth and a speed to truth that can be different sometimes when you don't have that dynamic with a man and a woman. And so while I think there are great options available today, the goal, what we're trying to create is just more choice. Maybe that's not the right choice for you. Think about all the styles of the people that we know who coach in this space. There's some consistency to those styles. And I would say that there are a lot of women who might be looking for just a different approach, something that feels more natural to who they are. And frankly, comes from somebody who has lived in their shoes and has the same experiences, because it just helps you shortcut to things faster. So I think it's really about growing the choices versus changing the choices. And I think that's good for the industry.
Yeah, definitely. And, you've worked, like you said, you've reached some of the highest levels in real estate. Yeah. So how does that kind of inform your coaching? Your past experience?
The past experience that I've had beyond real estate, I spent 20 years in tech startups before I came to real estate. So I like that I have a little bit of everything that I bring to this. It's not just the real estate experience. And, the common thread through all of those were entrepreneurs, technology changing the way that business was done, and a lot of small business owners. And so I have taken all of that and reapplied that and thought about how do we bring that to coaching in real estate. So an example of this, I've seen it all. I was in home services, working with home service providers, contractors. I've been in the online education industry, helping women in craft. Quilters, knitters, sewers. We were all about online education and growing that world. There is something to learn from all of those, including the experience that I had in real estate, for how to help early stage entrepreneurs be successful. And I like that what I was doing at Compass was exactly that on the real estate side. And it's taking that same type of thinking and now applying it to a coaching business. How can you do that? Because the truth is that there are options out there, Tracey, for people who want to coach today, and they're good ones. I mean, I won't say all their names, but we know who they are. And if you were to go to them, they solve problems for entrepreneurs today. They train you. They bring you the leads. They give you the content. They basically just send you out to go do the coaching. But what we're doing is a little different. It's saying, I actually want to own my own brand. I want to own my own IP. I don't want to give away 50% of this business. I want it to be mine. And I want to be able to coach and teach to things that I have tested and lived versus what somebody else has done. So those are the things that I think we're bringing to this.
Yeah, and I think women are such great collaborators as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, you might have a coach, but you're also collaborating in learning from each other. So,
correct.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. If you think about it, Tracey, the real estate space of all the industries that I've been a part of has been, I think, the most effective at leveraging groups and masterminds over the years. It is a very lonely profession to be in real estate at times. And so, there is real power in that. And I think what's been missing is there really hasn't been something like that for coaches and specifically women coaches. So to your point, our objective here is to help more women launch into coaching and help be more successful with them, help them be more successful along the way. And a big piece of that is bringing them together. So you nailed it. That's exactly right.
And where do you see as maybe some of the biggest challenges out there when you do speak with agents? What are they really struggling with? And is it any different than what they've always struggled with?
No. I think it's very similar to what they've always struggled with. It's a hard position. I mean, it's a hard profession to be in. I mean, straight up. Certainly there are macro influences that can change, this is more important than this right now, or this is more important than this, but the foundation is still the same. I get really excited thinking about what's going on right now, Tracey. And I know that you've talked to several people who feel the same way, which is that when I first got to real estate in 2019, I was like, one of the reasons I came was it was full of women. And the second reason I came was because I knew there was going to be tremendous change over the next 10 years. Every industry that I've been part of, I've seen this exact thing happen. So I knew it. And I got excited about that. I thought, if I'm still in this business, this industry in 10 years and nothing has changed, there's no way. And here we are. It's rolling and it's rolling fast. And for the people who are nimble and focused on curiosity and growth, this is as good as it gets. There is a lot of opportunity to be had right now.
And so in your experience, are you actually coaching women into executive roles and that, or are you really more coaching coaches?
At this point, I'm more coaching coaches, and that's really focused on twofold. That's helping women have the confidence and the know-how to actually start into this space, take that next step, as well as grow along the way. I do some private coaching at the executive level, and I wouldn't rule out the opportunity to do that more in the future. But right now, what I'm focused on is how do we help more women achieve the results they want in this space?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of women who have a lot to offer as coaches as well. And they don't have to be masters of all. I think there's really something about niche coaching that is really important as well. And I don't know many who really are niche coaching. So tell me a little bit about how that plays into what you're doing.
I mean, that's an awesome observation, Tracey. I think that, when I think about the trends in coaching, so when I get excited about something to solve, which is generally how I end up with something like this, it's because I'm seeing all these macro trends that are all converging into something that means something is going to evolve really in an exciting way. And so the macro trends, one of which you're referring to here, is that this idea, I think for a long time in real estate, it was this idea that I go to this one person and they know everything and they're this guru and they help me forever. And they're almost like mentor type and they just help me with everything. I don't think that that's the most effective way to do things. Nobody can be expert or frankly really passionate and excited about every aspect. It's just not possible. And so to your point, I think there's going to definitely being a niching down of like, where am I really, really great? What do I really, really love? I want to help somebody with that. And frankly, when that is done, then I will help them find the next person who can help them versus string them along just so I can get a paycheck as a coach, which I think can happen. It's like, well, just keep going, but that's not the right solution for the customer. The second thing that I think you're going to see is this rise of the creator economy is coming for real estate. We're already seeing it. It's really amazing, like how fast this is all happening. And so I think that, over the next 5 years, I've said this to anyone who will listen to me, I think any and all real estate agents will be coaches. It's coming. And so there is going to be a need to differentiate and elevate and show quality, because in the times where you get a long tail around something, then what happens is it comes back around and you need to aggregate and have some kind of quality door. So I think the creator economy is coming. I think niching down is coming. I think that AI is coming, which I'm sure, we could talk plenty about, which has lots of impacts on this industry. So it's an exciting time. It's going to look wildly different in 5 years than it does right now.
Yeah, and let's talk about AI because I think it's a very
Mm-hmm.
confusing topic for a lot of people. They think, oh, it's just about writing listing copy, or whatever. But it is so much more than that. And
Yes.
how, to me, it's changing so quickly too, what's available out there. So talk to me a
Yeah.
little bit about that trend and really how, um, agents, and especially agents who are interested in maybe learning it and coaching on it, can really get a
Mm-hmm.
handle on what it means.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've covered these stats, but Chat GPT
Mhm.
acquired 1 million users in 5 days after launching. Instagram, it took them about 2.5 months, and Netflix, it took them about 3.5 years. So that speed is exactly what we're dealing with right now. I mean, this is not like maybe in 10 years I'll figure it out. It's like, no, tomorrow. It's happening right now. In fact, you wouldn't even believe this. I recently was on an airplane and I was sitting next to a gentleman who was telling me about his AI company that he is building and how they're doing it both on the commercial side and the personal side and how much funding is around it. I mean, and he said to me, everyone's racing after this just like the internet. And there's going to be a couple winners here and nobody knows whose it's going to be yet. There's just so much opportunity. So I say all that with just like, it is happening. It is happening really fast. I will say the best way for me to answer this question is probably specifically related to coaching to start. When I think about how AI will impact coaching and real estate and beyond, it's going to be first and foremost, content means nothing anymore. Coaching, I think, used to be that I developed a program or I write a book and then I teach other people to deliver that content. And that's how we have some accountability around it. I can have access to that content anytime I want now, and it's just going to get better and better and better. And so what's really going to matter is the experience that you wrap around that content. It is the life that you have lived, the experience you have gained, and then how do you bring that to the content? And how do you bring people together around these topics? Because it's going to be the human to human connection, both as a coach and as groups, that will be of value. It will not be of value anymore to show up and just have people give me their checklists. That's no value anymore. So it's really exciting. And I think what you will also see, which I can't wait to see how this all plays out, is you will have bots that will be coaches. Without a doubt. I already know people who do this. They literally are training a GPT right now, and they are using it to then help and support the people that they support. Now, I think for a while, you're just going to have a person in the middle of that. It might accelerate the person, but it's not going to replace the person. But over time, it will. There will be a bot that people pay probably a very low rate for to have access every month that helps them run their business in the same way that a coach. But where there's opportunity is at that higher level. Once you get past the doing, here's the checklist, here's the process, then it gets to the being. And I think when you're starting to do work around being, that's where people really want to see person to person engagement, even if AI is helping you behind the scenes. So just like real estate agents, I think coaches will use AI for the back end. I think there'll be a ton of back end support and automation, but the front end will remain the same.
Yeah, I actually know brokers who are training ChatGPT or building their own with
Yes,
all of their training so that
correct.
agents can get immediate answers to common questions, and it will continue
Correct.
to evolve, but they still have that human element involved in that they have people to call no matter what. But
Exactly.
if you're interested in getting an immediate answer, it's a great way to do it, especially if you have a million videos online that you're doing trainings on in that. So
That's
yeah,
right. That's
yeah,
right. Yeah, it's
definitely.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
know another broker
Hmm.
who's really training it for compliance as well. And I'm not sure,
Yes.
last I talked, he said it was still had some issues. But that was
Mm.
probably 6, 7 months ago. So I'm not sure where he is with that right now. But there's some
Yeah.
really creative uses for it from both the brokerage side and the agent side as well. So,
I mean,
yeah.
in a service-based industry, the humans plus this technology is
Hmm.
amazing. But
Yeah.
the technology will not fully replace all the human. I just don't believe it will. But together, really cool
Yeah.
stuff can happen.
I kind of equate
Hmm.
it to the whole when Zillow and the listing portals came online, and agents were and brokers were very concerned that being too transparent was going to cut them out of the picture. They can find all the listing information online. There's not going to be a need for us. It's going to be like the travel agents, and that didn't happen. In fact, I think a recent NAR study has found that more consumers than ever are choosing to work with a real estate agent,
Correct.
looking for that expertise as well. So
Correct.
there's always that. You remember it used to be the disruptor. That was the big
Hmm.
buzzword of the industry, probably
Yeah.
what, 15
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
And every magazine had disruptor, and Azilla's a disruptor, and everybody's a disruptor. And they never were able to actually disrupt that human relationship
Hmm.
between an agent and the consumer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And that will persist. Just the
Yeah.
best agents will figure out how to use, and the best brokerages will figure out how to use this technology to just make that even better.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Do you see
Hmm.
any
Hmm.
emerging trends with technology or AI and its use in real estate?
I
Overarching
mean,
trends, not like specific.
I think like the number one trend is back
Hmm.
office. Back
Yeah,
office, back office. Like
yeah.
that's it. That's where all the money can be taken out of businesses that is
Hmm.
inefficient and frankly error prone. And so like how do you go after that first? I think that's the number one trend. And I think after back office gets
Hmm.
optimized, then you will start to see it translate more to the front end experience. But that's where all the opportunity is, I think, to start.
And so, how are you blending that personal touch and that technology driven, atmosphere in the Helm to help coaches kind of balance both aspects of it and be as valuable as possible?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are like three principles that so we founded the business on that I think are important. The first is that experience really matters. I just foundationally believe that the best coaching comes from professionals who have done it themselves. And I think there are plenty of people in this space who have never once done the thing that they are actually coaching agents to do. And I just think that's a real miss. So, first, we believe in experience. Second, as we've talked about, we believe in choice, that there should be lots of options to find the right fit for me. We live in a world where we should be able to customize those experiences to what our needs are and who we are. And three, women should be a bigger part of that. So those are our three foundational principles. On top of that, technology is going to do some very cool things for our business in the next couple of years. I actually can't tell you
Yeah.
what those things will be yet
Yeah.
because they are part of work that we're doing for next year. But I
Okay.
will tell you this. They will be about unlocking more expertise,
Yeah.
especially for women that has been locked away. Two is creating more choice as
Hmm.
much as we can. And three, it's going to be about how do we automate and support the back end for these women so that they
Hmm.
can spend more time doing the best for their clients and less on running the business. Those are sort of where we're focused.
Yeah. And do you see a difference in your experience in how females run their business compared to males? And like, whether it's a coaching business or a real estate business, I think they're, each sex brings different,
Mm-hmm.
things to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you
Yeah.
see any big differences, or are they just small, nuanced?
I think I wish I could say that I think there's like massive differences. I
Yeah.
don't. I think it's
Yeah.
more nuanced, and it
Mm-hmm.
has to do with the way that like what matters to people in terms of how they run their business. Like
Mm-hmm.
the way I describe it is I think at times um women can be better at leaning into what we refer to as your zone of genius.
Yeah.
And for a lot of women, this is about relationships. This is
Mm-hmm.
about networks. And so I see a lot of that, but there's men who do that too. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
think running the business itself, the business of running the business, is that
Yeah.
different. I think it's the way that each of these business owners shows up in their business. It's almost sort of like the essence of who they are, and then who they
Mm-hmm.
attract to work with them because of that, I think can be very different.
Okay, so when a female is thinking about learning to be a coach and wants to be a coach,
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
are in their questioning their ability, they're questioning, whatever it is. What are maybe the three top attributes, or three top kind of nuggets that you have to offer for someone who's interested in actually joining a coaching program, becoming a
Uh-huh.
coach?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you look for, and what do they need to know?
When I first thought about starting this business, like any new business owner, I went out and did a ton of research, lots of research. I've talked to hundreds of women in real estate. And what I found were there were three key blockers for these women. The first was the confidence gap, kind of what you were going after, Tracey. I'm sure you're familiar with, there's a famous study in corporate America that's around that men apply for jobs when they have 60% of the qualifications, and women apply for jobs when they have 100% of the qualifications. And I saw that through and through in every single one of these conversations. Women would say to me, well, I've not done it before. I don't know what I'm doing. I wouldn't even know where to start. And it was this idea that they had to do it perfectly, that they had to be expert in it even before they began. And I think this just keeps women from even starting. So, the first thing is we have to help them overcome that confidence gap. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing that these women said to me was, I have a very successful business. Because the truth is, I'm looking for women who have led successful businesses or had
Mm-hmm.
successful careers, because I think they're the right target for the type of coaching that
Mm-hmm.
people are looking for. And so let's say, well, I can't give up this business to do that. And I just think that's a false choice. You absolutely can. There are examples of women who lead multiple businesses in real estate successfully. And so I think that just keeps women from actually taking that next step too, when you actually can do both. And then the third, this one every time I say it, it makes my stomach drop, which is these women would come to me, they'd say, oh, Danielle, real estate's been so good to me. I need to give it back for free. At which point I would say,
Yeah.
well, the men don't. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean we're giving this back for free? And by the way, you can absolutely mentor and support and do things
Mm-hmm.
for quote unquote free while also monetizing your expertise. They do not have to be mutually exclusive. And so our work is around helping women overcome those three hurdles. Those are the hurdles. And so what we're focused on is we have a Kickstarter program that
Mm-hmm.
just helps women get out as fast as they can. This is not a huge investment up front. You may get into this and realize it is not for you. There are some women that I've met who've like,
Yeah.
I dreamed about this my whole life. They do it for a hot second and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is not for me.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we're just like getting as many women out as we can to start. And if they
Mm-hmm.
realize it's not for them, great. They didn't invest a ton of money up front. They got in, they got out, whatever. For those women who make that first hurdle and like, yes, this is what I want to do, then what we do is we have forums, mastermind types, where we bring these women together and we
Mm-hmm.
continue to support them and each other as they grow their businesses, referrals, expert advice, support, those types of things. And then for the very tip top, Tracey, the ones who are like, I am going to double down,
Yeah.
we actually have some certification around conscious leadership. That's an important area for us that we would love to see bring more of that into real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you explain that a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more? That
Mm-hmm.
concept?
Yeah, about 10 years ago, I and my co-founder, Heather Frick, we stumbled upon this concept of conscious leadership. It was a fairly new but fast growing concept in the tech space. And leaders were looking for ways to figure out how to manage themselves differently. you go through your career, you learn all the skills, you know how to do it, you know, the spreadsheets and the management, but what you do not generally learn is how to manage yourself within those environments. And so conscious leadership is an excellent blueprint for how to go and do that. And so we went through it. It was life-changing for me professionally and personally. I literally have given 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, the book, to almost every single person who's ever worked for me since. And it's been a really big part of how I operate. And so we are working on bringing those concepts and weaving them into real estate in more meaningful ways, because we think this could be a huge unlock as the industry is now under this professionalism mandate for how do we show up differently, not just with the skills, but with how we're being.
Yeah, and that really leads into my last question, which is just what are some, I mean, real estate is constantly evolving. I think we've had a little bit more of an evolution recently with the settlement, new policies, procedures, in addition to kind of a slow market, which we're looking forward to being a little bit better next year. But what, as the industry continues to evolve, what trends or shifts do you predict will dominate the coaching space over the next couple of years?
I mean, it's a lot of what we already talked about. I think the trends will be that, it is less about checklists and how-tos and accountability. I think it's going to be a lot more around hard skills and how to be in your work, how you manage yourself. Those two things together is where magic will happen. It's going to be a much more focus on leadership and managing yourself versus just the check, 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 check that everybody has been doing for so long. So I think there'll be a sophistication that will look a lot different than where we've been at before. And that's great because the industry is becoming more sophisticated. The agents within it are becoming more sophisticated, and that's what they need. I also think that another trend, like I said, will be that everybody will be a coach. And so there's going to be, it's going to be really hard for people to start to understand, well, who should I trust? Who should I give this to? And so I think it'll be really important for organizations to create standards around those things so that people can feel comfortable in the investments they're making. And I think AI is going to be a huge driver of power behind it and how we show up as coaches.
Well, great. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for joining the Real Trending podcast. It's really very interesting, and I wish you much success with the Helm.
Thanks, Tracey. It was great to be here with you today.